This one is from Zenib.
Sure.
There's a D and a Z at the beginning, so that you guys can figure it out. Floating, waiting, wishing.
Yeah. And now you can, in your head, sing along to Sitting, Waiting, Wishing by Jack Johnson.
I will not do that. I'm not familiar with that song.
You probably are.
Probably.
Great start.
Yeah, first story. I had to take time off of work because of a stress-induced illness. After a number of months, I was really struggling, wondering if I had aged out of my profession and would ever find a job well-suited to me again. I spent a lot of time floating around in a pool, on vacation, pondering my lengthy career and reflecting on what type of work made me most happy and fulfilled. And I realized it was my very first career of several decades prior. About 1 month later, I got a call out of the blue from someone who I had worked with but barely knew or liked, asking me what I was up to and recruited me to the exact type of job I had envisioned for myself. It was and is literally the perfect job, doing what I love for a company, making products that I love, working remote forever, the perfect size and the perfect phase of growth. I asked for a salary of X, and she countered with almost 20,000 more.
When does that ever happen, right? This is what I want. And they're like, how about I give you more?
Yeah, not very often.
Yeah.
I have never in my lengthy career had the kind of executive level support and recognition for the work I do, ever. I had one project that was immensely successful, the kind of project people in my career dream about, and they still can't stop praising my work. It's unreal. I can't believe after manifesting this job floating around in a pool, it fell on top of my head a month later. I'm in my second year now and things are still going strong. I am now wondering what else I should meditatively manifest.
That's an interesting one. There's in a perfect world, I couldn't picture this happening ever. I could not imagine just sitting there and be like, this is kind of what I want to do. This is what I'd be great at. And then a month later, having someone that you don't even like call you up and be like, hey, how about you come work for me? And how much do you want? And I'm going to give you 20 grand more. That's crazy, dude.
Okay, now I'm gonna try to do this without going all The Secret on you.
Oh God.
But it makes perfect sense. And if we go back to our conversation at the end of the previous story about energy going out, when you open yourself up to this world, including maybe dream a little, those things become possible. And I think it's energy-based magic kind of in a way. But also, if we break it down, if we are ever able to break it down, there's some science behind it.
Yeah.
Where this energy goes, or the fact that he's relaxing in a pool, trying to, figure out what's next, thinks about what's next. And then all of a sudden it comes into the life. We've heard that story millions of times.
Yeah.
Everybody has something similar to that, whether it's a relationship or a job or art or something. When you open yourself up to possibilities, those possibilities can happen. Unfortunately, the world around us tends to open us up to really negative possibilities.
Yeah.
And we spend so much time focusing on stress and negativity in this world that we don't open ourselves up to good things like this, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does in a sense. And even just from I know you, and it's the same thing we always do, like energy, it could be spiritual, it could be this and that. Like in this instance, sure, it's not like he was out there praying or anything like that,
Yeah.
but it's a similar thing. Like there's references to that even like biblically and that's more, asking God or whatever. But I think somewhere in like Psalm 37 or something, it talks about desires of your heart. If you delight yourself in God, like you get, but at the very base of that is being joyful.
Yeah.
And like being happy and stuff like that. The very base of that like ideology is being content and being happy. And if you're content and happy, then you'll get the desires of your heart. And so like I can imagine being in like a kind of a pool like this and just like kind of like floating around, reflecting on your life and shit like that. And just thinking about stuff that you'd want to do and then having that happen. Like, so all these things like kind of, and I know like we've talked about it all the time, we give different names for the same fucking thing, but like it's a similar concept. And it's one that I've actually been trying to get better at myself, because my life, even though like there's things about my life that I enjoy, I'm also going through a period where it's just really rough. Like there's just a lot of shit going wrong where I feel like I'm like,
it's not really good. And this is where, and we talk about, you guys don't get to hear us talking about this before the podcast, but we talk about it and Scott's always a little bit more stressed. And I'm like, man, it's not the stress. You got to focus on taking a break from the stress. Yeah. And that's kind of like foreign to you.
Yeah.
So and this is where, when people try to get spiritual or psychic or meditative, Sometimes they think that just breathing a certain way makes that happen. For these type of practices, especially for you, like for me, this is easy, I think, because I live my life in a really like
Zen.
Yeah. So it's easy for me, but I know that like someone like you who worries about the next thing the minute you take a break from the thing that was stressing you before.
Yeah.
You have to put the work into clearing your mind and taking that hour a few times a week of meditative structure, whether you're meditating or whatever, or just clearing your mind. I mean, that clearing your mind is what opens up all that other stuff and it makes it able. You cannot constantly operate on stress.
Yeah.
But the world around you, that's all it is stress in one way or another. So you actually have to force yourself to take that break in whatever realm of the world you are or whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
You can't let all this stress overwhelm you. You have to reboot the brain. And that could be spiritually or mentally. Who cares? As long as it's kind of, you get that peace and quiet.
Yeah.
You can be religious or you can be a skeptic. As long as you reboot that brain in a way that you can open yourself up to more joy.
Yeah. Well, I have a theory that might help with the easing of that I will probably look into. Actually, you'd probably enjoy it too, so maybe we'll just go together at some point. But outside of that, like, it's not even, like, I stress about things, but it's also, I stress about things that I put on my plate because I'm a very creative person and I love having projects and I love doing things. But there gets to a point where I do so many things that it's like, wow, I really outdid it. But I get in a habit where I'm like, this is a schedule now. I have to keep the schedule. And it's on top of that, but it's also that I want to be successful. And now that, we're having a family, we're starting a family, like I don't want to be just someone that had a dream and then was like, I got too tired, so I stopped doing it. Like it's something where it's like, no, you got to keep digging in. You got to keep, even when it feels uncomfortable, when you feel like you're giving up, when you feel like so tired that nothing seems to matter, like you got to keep digging into that. And so I'm like determined. It's like, no matter what I do, and I've had this weird, like, and it's probably like, I don't know how you'd say it. It's like surface level shit where it's like, oh, almost kind of not conceited, but like
narcissistic.
No, not even that really. Just like I've always had this weird thought that I was going to be a millionaire someday. And I know a lot of people have it, but the difference between people that have it and people that succeed in that is the work in between.
And to be able to do that work and the way you think, you need to schedule that time to clear your mind.
Yeah.
That has to be part of your schedule. It doesn't have to be every day, or it could be 5 to 10 minutes a day. Yeah. But if you schedule that and practice it and work on it, I think the product will come out better, like in our case, the podcast.
Yeah. Or
also your business or your parenting, but also it'll be healthier and you'll enjoy it more. You cannot come from a level of, the hustle generation where all you do is hustle. That is not healthy.
But that's the generation I'm a part of.
Yeah. And that's why you have to work at finding a little bit more, in my words, zen, in your words, you could just be sitting there pondering whatever. You got to get, you got to shut your brain down a little bit.
Yeah.
And in the end, and this is something, I've always been a mellow person, but my brain I've never really practiced that until one day I'm like, this is how I have to be. It'll make me happier.
Yeah.
So now things don't really rattle me too much. I'll have bad days.
Sure.
But I'm able to step away from it or shut it down and find a little bit more of the joyful part of it.
Yeah.
And it works for me. It's not going to work the same for you because we're different personalities, but it's more important for you than it is for me because it's a natural state for me.
Yeah.
And it's not, but it's healthy.
I just feel like that millionaire mentality, like from being a kid, like to where I was like, if I collect enough of these, Thai beanie babies,
yeah,
guess who's going to be a millionaire? Like at a really young age. But the idea has always been, it's never been something like, I just want to be rich and like flaunt it.
Yeah.
It's always been, I want to be rich enough to where I don't have to work for someone and I can just do my passion projects nonstop.
Yeah.
Like without worrying back, oh, this passion project of mine flopped. And now I'm in the red and now I'm worried and now I can't keep a roof over my kid's head and all this shit. Like that's the stuff I worry about with my business right now is it's not doing great. So it's like either turn that around or get to the point where build something up to the point of success where it's like we're living comfortably and still having a lot of fun with it. Cause I enjoy the projects that I put on. Like anything I touch, I'm like, it has to be something I'm passionate about.
Maybe it's time to move on from the business.
But I thought so too. I was going to try selling it and stuff, but I don't know. It's not doing well. I can't sell it right now.
Well, and this is why it's more important to get that time, clear your mind.
And you know how we do that. And this is to end this tangent, I guess. We have a lot of segments where it's like,